Hello everyone, we're here to make a rant video. This one's called Touched by Evil. Now, the reason I call it that will become apparent as we're talking the way through. But the first thing I got to talk about, what is evil? Well, the evil I'm talking about here is harming other people. There's lots of ways of harming other people. You can steal their stuff, you can beat them, you can kill them, you can abuse them, lots and lots of ways. I'm more going towards the abuse end of things today, simply because it fits what's in my head a little bit better. Now, we also have to talk about something else before that, though. And this came out of my last video I made. It was, someone posted something about morality. I know what was posted, and I'm going to discuss it a little bit. There's different kinds of morality, okay? What I mean by different kinds is we got this concept going around right now that we have morals of the day, okay? That the morals today can be different than the morals of my grandfather, for instance. That is ignoring absolutes. You know, when we're talking about morals, I don't think we should have flexible morality. And the reason for that is some things just should be black and white, like you do not kill your neighbor. That's black and white. And we start getting flexible with the morals. We can start saying, well, it's okay if Fred kills his neighbor, but it's not okay if Jim kills his neighbor. And when you start doing that, the concept of fairness and all sorts of stuff gets thrown out. You know, we end up with bad things happening in the world. And we already have enough of that. We don't need morals of the day thrown in, where today it's okay to run red lights and tomorrow it's okay to marry 8-year-olds. We don't need any of that in our lives. It's just not proper. So I'm going to stick to a code of absolute morals. There are morals that should be handed down, things you do and things you don't do. Like don't murder your neighbor, don't murder anyone. It shouldn't just happen, okay? Some things are just black and white, and that's just how they should be. Now, having said that, evil is harming others. That's how I have it. I know those with the morals of the day will say, well, no, evil isn't necessarily harming others. It's okay to harm others if the ends justify the means. You know, I can harm this person to get what I need for this group of people over here. No, we don't do that. Now, let's talk about touched by evil and what I mean by that. What I mean by that is the people who have been touched by evil. Those that have had their loved ones murdered. Those that have had a road rage incident where a crazy person throws a coin holder at your car. That happened to me last week. Caught it on dash cam. I have a dash cam in the car. And, well, when the police were called, he lied, and then we showed him the police the dash cam video, and he got arrested. So, I was touched by evil there, but that is a light touch of evil. Because 2 days later, we're making fun of it. Like, what kind of an idiot does that? It just takes all kinds of people. I'm not talking about what I just outlined. I'm talking about something else. When someone murders a person, the people who love that person suffer for it. Sometimes that suffering can go on for a long time. Sometimes it's short. It all depends on the person, how they were loved, their family members, how the murder was committed. If the guy who does the murder or the girl who does the murder hides the body, and doesn't get caught for 5 or 7 years, that evil presence lurks in their lives that whole time. And once they finally catch the person and once the body's found, they can start healing and drop the evil out of their lives. That's a much simpler case than abuse. And that's where I'm headed with this one. Those that are touched by evil abusers. Okay? The child who knows nothing of what's going on around them, children are innocent. People who abuse children, my opinion, they are the lowest of the low. We do not abuse children. Children are too young and too innocent to even understand what it is you're doing to them. And the after effects of that abuse linger for their whole lives. I've known many people over my lifespan, and some of them have been touched by evil in that way. They were abused, sexually, physically, verbally, for years. And it takes quite some time to catch the people doing this kind of abuse. And then when they catch them, they deny it. They're in denial. The court system is not set up in a way to deal with this kind of abuse. You say, yes, it is. Those of you that say that, you need to go through that court system and experience it firsthand. I know some of my viewers out there have children, have divorces and stuff like that. You know what the court system's like. I'm talking about the person who's sitting at home watching this and going, well, it can't be that bad. You just report the abuse. Right there's half of it. The child doesn't even know they're being abused. They can't report it. And when they do report it, the courts are set up in such a way that the child has to report it to complete strangers that they don't know, don't trust. And if the abuser's been schooling them on you can't trust strangers, they won't tell the stranger, this person's been doing this to me. So the abuse just goes on and on and on until that child is old enough to able to start thinking on their own. But at that point, they've been so brainwashed by the abuser that it's really hard to separate them out from that case. Okay? And it takes years to even begin to separate them from the abuser. So those that abuse children, they're just evil. Plain and simple. No way around it. Okay? They don't even consider what they're doing to that child. The years of therapy that child's going to have to go through. How messed up their interpersonal relationships are going to be the rest of their lives. How hard it's going to be for them to date and find happiness with a partner later in life. All the abuser thinks about is themselves. It's a selfish desire. Okay? And this is true not only of children, but adults that are abused. Along with these children, I've met quite a few adult females who've gone through abuse as adults. Women who've been raped, women who have been physically abused by their husbands, women who've been verbally abused by others. Okay? I've met all of these things. And the scars from this just linger and are there. And how do we heal from these sorts of scars? How does the child who was abused from the time it's 3 years old until it's 15 heal from 12 years of abuse? That's all they've known is that abuse. They don't know anything else. When we can finally get the courts to recognize it and pull them away from it. How do we heal from this? Okay? We know the people that do these things are sick and twisted in the head and have severe issues. You have to be to do these sorts of things to others. Well, how do you heal from these things? One is time. It takes time for the pain and hurt to go away. I met one woman. I'm not going to explain her circumstances because if I do, people will figure out who she is. I met one woman who was assaulted by more than one man at a time. The scars on her were very deep. I mean, this was 3 years after that assault. And the scars were on her very, very deep. She didn't trust any man who came near her. One day, she broke down and told me her story. And I don't want to share her story because it was very personal. But I could tell from listening to her that the scars were going to be with her for a long, long time. She didn't trust any straight men. I had a bunch of friends who were gay at the time, and she hung around them. And that's probably how she learned to trust me, is they trusted me. And they told her I was okay. So one day she just broke down and told me her story because she needed to share it. And I can tell you right now, to this day, I mean, that was 15 years ago, and I'm sure she still has nightmares over it. The nightmares are probably lessened because it's such a distant time in the past. And maybe she finally blocked it out and can't even admit it happened. Maybe she's gotten lucky that way. I don't know. Okay? I do know what it takes for these people to heal is time, patient people in their lives. Because these people will react in unexpected ways to certain events in their life. Call them triggers. Okay? Like if someone was verbally abusive to a woman, years down the road, if you say a certain phrase the way the abuser did, it can trigger a panic attack. It can trigger an angry outlash. And the person who muttered the phrase has no clue where any of this came from. That's because that lady was touched by evil. And that evil is still there affecting her. You know, one of the concepts that I have, there goes the lights. The lights are on automatic timer in this room. There's a motion detector and it picks them up. I have the remote in my hands so I can get the lights back on. It won't go off again. But one of the concepts I have is evil likes to spread itself. So you have one evil person and they can't contain that evil. So they have to spread the evil by being mean and foul and vicious to everyone around them, creating little clones of themselves who go out and propagate this evil to others. Well, an abuser propagates that evil through time. So it takes time to remove this evil. It takes a patient person willing to work with them. If any of you men out there have dated a woman who's been abused in her past, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You have to be patient with these women. Because, again, the smallest little thing can trigger off a major panic attack. And it's not a good thing. Okay? The other thing that helps for some, and this is where I know I'm going to get some negative comments in the comment feed, is finding a religion. And I know some of you are not religious and don't even want to hear it. But if there is evil, then there's good somewhere. And finding the good in man sometimes comes from religion. So for some of these women, they throw themselves at faith. And it's a comfort to them and helps them pull through and helps them understand why they were touched by this evil person in such a way, in such a foul, evil way. Okay? So, you know, I know some of you don't like that concept, but for some, that's going to be the only way to help them out of it. I hate to say it. Now, I'm not specifying any particular religion. Okay? It could be Buddhism for all I care. But for some, they're just going to need that faith and that belief that there is good in the world to pull them out of that evil. Okay? You just have to get to know some of these people. When I was in college, I was a magnet for the abused. I just kept meeting woman after woman who'd been through abuse. I don't know what it was about me that they came to me for, but they came to me and told me their stories. And if something happened in the last day or two that just brought this back up to my mind, and I wanted to share this. You know, you come across a woman who's been touched by evil. You've got to be patient. You've got to open your heart to them. You cannot do anything to betray their trust. The moment you betray their trust, you're touching them with evil again. And that's not what they need. So if they share their story with you, it's a confidential story and should not be spread. What I told of the one woman, yeah, you guys can't track her down. No one could figure out who she is. Okay? If she heard the video, she might know who she is, but that's a different story. I'm not going to share their stories specifically. Just keep in mind, I've dated women who have been abused physically and emotionally. And all of them were touched by evil in one way or another. And all of them lost trust and faith in people in general. And it took time and patience and kindness to restore it. And again, for some, a belief in God, some sort of God, okay, is also very helpful because it helps you understand the good aspects of life and the evil aspects of life. I think I've said all I need to say on that one. I know this isn't exactly a happy video, but it's been something that's been on my mind for a few days, again, because something just brought all these memories back to the surface in the last day or two. And I thought I should share them. Okay? Hope you enjoyed. Leave a comment. Let me know. Again, I know this isn't the happiest of videos, but, you know, sometimes you just got to share what's on your mind. And this one's been there for a few days. It's not weighing heavily. It's just, I've seen enough of it that I thought I should share. All right? Enjoy your day.